My name is Sarah Mitchell, I'm 38 years old, and for 15 years, I believed I was married to the perfect man. Marcus was everything a woman could want. Successful, charming, attentive, and devoted to our family. Or so I thought. The day I discovered his double life wasn't dramatic like in the movies. There was no lipstick on his collar, no mysterious phone calls in the night. It was a simple notification on our shared iPad that shattered my entire world. But instead of confronting him immediately, I made a decision that would change everything. I pretended not to know for 30 days. This is my story of deception, revelation, and ultimately, reclaiming my life. If you've ever wondered what it's like to live with someone who's living a lie, or if you've faced betrayal from the person you trusted most, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to Reality Drama and More for more real-life stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love and trust. Before I tell you about the day everything changed, let me paint you a picture of what I thought my life was. Marcus and I met in college, Columbia University, 2001. I was studying journalism. He was in business school. We met at a coffee shop near campus where I was frantically typing my thesis, and he offered to buy me another latte after I'd been there for 6 hours straight. "You look like you could use another caffeine fix," he'd said with that smile that would later convince me to reorganize my entire life around his dreams. We dated for 3 years before getting married. The wedding was perfect. 150 guests at a vineyard in Napa Valley. My dress from Vera Wang, on sale but still. His tears when I walked down the aisle. Every single person there told us we were the perfect couple. Marcus's best man, Trevor, even joked in his speech that we made everyone else look bad. The early years were everything I'd dreamed of. Marcus got a job at a prestigious investment firm in Manhattan. I worked as a features editor at a lifestyle magazine. We bought a brownstone in Park Slope, needed work, but had good bones, as the realtor said. We renovated it together, spending weekends covered in paint and sawdust, drinking cheap wine from plastic cups while sitting on the floor of what would become our dream home. Our daughter Emma came along 5 years into our marriage. Perfect pregnancy, perfect birth, as perfect as pushing a human out of your body can be. Perfect baby. She had Marcus's green eyes and my stubborn chin. 2 years later, our son Jake arrived, a surprise but a welcome one. Marcus cried both times in the delivery room, holding my hand and telling me I was the strongest woman he'd ever known. By year 15 we had it all. The renovated brownstone was now worth 3 times what we paid for it. Emma was 12, brilliant and kind, playing violin in the youth orchestra. Jake was 10, obsessed with soccer and science experiments that usually ended with something exploding in the garage. Marcus had made partner at his firm. I'd left the magazine to start my own freelance writing business, which gave me flexibility to be there for the kids. We still had date nights every other Friday. Marcus still brought me flowers every week. Tulips in spring, sunflowers in summer, roses in fall, white orchids in winter. He left post-it notes on my coffee mug with little messages. "You're beautiful. Thank you for being you. Can't wait to grow old with you." Our friends called us relationship goals. My sister Linda said we were nauseating, but in the best way. Marcus's mother, Patricia, told everyone at her book club that her son had married his soulmate. Even our teenagers, who should have been embarrassed by their parents' affection, seemed proud of our stable, loving home. I thought I knew everything about my husband. I knew he was allergic to shellfish but would risk it for really good lobster bisque. I knew he still had nightmares about a car accident from college. I knew he cried during the last 10 minutes of any Pixar movie. I knew he preferred boxers to briefs, automated watches to smartwatches, and real books to e-readers. I knew the face he made when he was about to lie to get out of a social obligation, the way his left eye twitched when he was stressed about work, the exact sound of his laugh when something genuinely surprised him with humor. I thought I knew him. I was wrong. Tuesday, March 15th, 3:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I was waiting for Emma to finish violin practice, sitting in my car in the school parking lot, working on an article about sustainable fashion on our iPad. Marcus and I shared it for convenience, synced to both our accounts so we could access documents, photos, and schedules from anywhere. I was deep into researching bamboo fabric when a notification popped up in the corner of the screen. New message from Melissa R. Can't wait to see you tonight. Same place? 8 p.m.? Kiss mark. My first thought wasn't suspicion. It was confusion. We didn't know a Melissa R. Maybe it was a work thing? Marcus had mentioned new clients coming on board. But that kiss emoji sat there on my screen like a tiny bomb. I clicked on the notification before it disappeared, but it took me to a messaging app one didn't even know Marcus had, Telegram. Since when did he use Telegram? The app opened to a conversation that made my blood run cold. The messages went back months. Hundreds of them. I scrolled up with shaking fingers, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it over the classical music drifting from the school's open windows. Marcus. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. Melissa. I know. I've never felt like this before. When can I see you again? Marcus. Friday. Sarah has book club. My book club. He was using my book club nights. I kept scrolling, each message another dagger. Marcus. I love how you make me feel like I'm 25 again. Melissa. You make me feel like the only woman in the world. Marcus. You are, baby. You are. There were photos. Nothing explicitly sexual, but intimate. Melissa was blonde, maybe 30, with the kind of yoga tone body I'd had before 2 kids and 15 years of comfortable marriage. Pictures of them at restaurants I didn't recognize, at a beach. When was he at a beach? Her wearing a necklace I'd never seen before, a gold pendant with an M. The most recent exchange from that morning. Marcus. Sarah's been distracted lately with her work. Makes things easier. Melissa. I hate sneaking around. When are you going to tell her? Marcus. Soon. I promise. Just need to figure out the kids' situation first. The kids' situation. My children had become a situation to figure out. Emma's practice ended, and I had to force myself to look normal as she climbed into the car, chattering about the new piece they were learning. I made appropriate sounds, asked the right questions, but my mind was spinning. At home, I started dinner. Marcus's favorite, ironically, salmon with asparagus and wild rice. He came home at 6:30, same as always, kissed my cheek, asked about my day. How was your day, beautiful? He asked, loosening his tie in that way I used to find sexy. Good. I managed. Got a lot of writing done. You. Busy. Back-to-back meetings. I'm exhausted. He pulled me into a hug, and I had to force myself not to stiffen. He smelled different. How had I never noticed he smelled different? During dinner, I watched him. Really watched him. The way he checked his phone every few minutes, screen tilted away from me. The way he developed a new habit of drumming his fingers on the table. The way he looked at me but didn't really see me, his mind clearly elsewhere. When his phone buzzed at 7:45, he glanced at it and stood. I forgot I promised Trevor I'd look at his investment portfolio tonight. He's been struggling with some decisions. I'll be back in a couple hours. Trevor. His best friend. His cover story. Of course, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Tell him I said hi. He kissed the top of my head. When had we stopped kissing on the lips goodbye? And left. I waited exactly 5 minutes, then called Trevor's wife, Amanda. Hey Sarah. How are you? Good. Hey, is Trevor home? Marcus just left to meet him, and I realized I forgot to give him Trevor's birthday present to take along. Trevor's birthday isn't for 3 months, Amanda laughed. And he's right here watching the game. Want to talk to him? No, I said quickly. I must have gotten confused. Marcus must be meeting another friend. You know how scattered I've been lately. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, where Emma had taken her first bite of solid food, where Jake had done his homework every night, where Marcus and I had stayed up late planning our future, and I made a decision that would define the next 30 days of my life. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Part 3, the plan. You might wonder why I didn't immediately pack his things, change the locks, and call a lawyer like any self-respecting woman would do. The truth is I needed time. Time to think, time to plan, and time to understand exactly what I was dealing with. That night, after Marcus came home smelling like perfume I didn't wear, after he showered, unusually thorough for a supposed meeting with Trevor, after he fell asleep beside me like everything was normal, I lay awake formulating my plan. First, I needed information. Who was Melissa R? How long had this really been going on? Were there others? What was the extent of Marcus's deception? Second, I needed to protect myself and the kids. That meant documenting everything, understanding our financial situation completely, and consulting with a lawyer without Marcus knowing. Third, I needed to understand why. Not for him, I didn't owe him that, but for me. After 15 years, I deserved to know what had gone so wrong that my husband was planning to leave me for another woman. The next morning, Wednesday, I started my investigation. Marcus left for work at 7:30, same as always. Kids were at school by 8:15. By 8:30, I was in his home office, a room I rarely entered because he'd always been particular about his space. The surface was typical Marcus, obsessively organized, everything in its place. But I wasn't looking at the surface. I went through drawers, finding nothing unusual at first. Bank statements I'd seen, tax documents I knew about, work contracts that looked standard. Then in a locked drawer, the key was laughably hidden under his desk lamp. I found a second set of bank statements. A checking account I didn't know existed, opened 8 months ago. Regular deposits from his salary, bonuses I didn't know he'd received. Withdrawals at restaurants, hotels, jewelry stores. $3,000 at Tiffany's 2 months ago. The necklace in the photo. He'd spent $3,000 on another woman while telling me we needed to be careful with money because of Jake's upcoming orthodontics. There were credit card statements too. A card in his name only, statements going to his office. Weekend trips to Miami, Boston, Chicago. All cities he'd supposedly visited for work. Hotel charges for 2. Dinner bills that would have fed our family for a week. I photographed everything. In his closet, behind his winter coats, I found a gym bag I didn't recognize. Inside, cologne I'd never smelled, a change of clothes, and a burner phone. The phone was turned off, but when I powered it on, there were text messages to multiple numbers, though Melissa's was the most frequent. I photographed those two. By noon, I'd hired a private investigator. Patricia Coleman came highly recommended by a divorce attorney's website I'd found. We met at a coffee shop in Midtown, far from anywhere Marcus might appear. I need to know everything, I told her, sliding across a folder with what I'd found. Who she is, how long this has been going on, if there are others. Patricia, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, reviewed my materials. You've done good preliminary work. Give me a week and I'll have everything you need. I also need you to be discreet. He can't know I know. She looked at me curiously. Most wives want confrontation immediately. I'm not most wives, I said. I have my reasons. The next step was legal consultation. Thursday morning, while Marcus was at work and the kids at school, I met with Diana Morrison, one of New York's best divorce attorneys. New York is an equitable distribution state, Diana explained after reviewing our financial situation. Given the length of your marriage, your contribution as a stay-at-home parent for several years, and his deception with marital assets, you're in a strong position. But we need to be strategic. What about the kids? Courts favor maintaining stability for children. Given that you're the primary caregiver and he's already demonstrated deception, custody shouldn't be an issue. But document everything, his absences, missed events, the lies. I started a journal that day. Every lie, every suspicious moment, every time he chose work or Trevor over family. It filled up faster than I expected. Living with Marcus while knowing about Melissa was like performing in a play where only I knew the script was fiction. Every morning, we went through our routine. Coffee together, had we always drunk it in silence. Quick rundown of the day's schedule, perfunctory kiss goodbye. Every evening, dinner as a family, helping with homework, watching TV on the couch. His arm around me feeling like a weight rather than comfort. The first week was the hardest. I'd catch myself staring at him, wondering who this stranger was. When had the man I married disappeared? Or had he ever existed at all? Friday came book club night. I usually went to my friend Jennifer's house with 5 other women to discuss whatever literary fiction we were pretending to have finished. This time, I told Marcus I was going but drove to a parking garage 2 blocks away and waited. Sure enough, 15 minutes after I left he texted, Trevor needs help with something. Be back late. Don't wait up. I followed him. I know I said I hired a PI, but I needed to see for myself. He drove to Tribeca, to a restaurant I'd mentioned wanting to try for our anniversary. He valeted his car, we couldn't afford valet at our anniversary dinner last month, and went inside. Through the window, I watched him kiss her. Not a casual greeting kiss, but the kind of kiss he used to give me when we were young and couldn't keep our hands off each other. They sat in a corner booth, leaning into each other, laughing. She was pretty in that effortless way that probably took enormous effort. He looked at her the way he used to look at me, like she was the only person in the room. They shared dessert, feeding each other spoonfuls of what looked like creme brulee. He used to say sharing dessert in public was too cutesy. I took photos through the window, feeling like a stalker but needing the evidence. Then I drove home, beat him back by an hour, and was in bed pretending to sleep when he slipped in at 1 a.m. Showering before getting into bed. He used to make fun of people who showered at night. Saturday, I studied him at Jake's soccer game. He cheered at appropriate times but spent most of the game on his phone. When other parents tried to make conversation, he was distracted, distant. Tom Harrison, whose son played defense, mentioned it to his wife loud enough for me to hear. Marcus seems off lately. Everything okay with you guys? Everything's great, I said brightly. Just work stress. You know how it is. But I cataloged it all. The way he missed Jake's winning goal because he was typing furiously on his phone. The way he begged off the team pizza party claiming a work emergency. The way Jake's face fell when his dad left early again. Sunday was family dinner at his parents' house. Patricia and Robert Mitchell, married 43 years, still holding hands at the dinner table. They'd always loved me, said I was the daughter they'd never had. You look tired, dear, Patricia, his mother, not the PI, said, studying my face with concern. Just busy with work, I said, smiling. Marcus, you need to take this beautiful wife of yours on a vacation, Robert boomed. When's the last time you two went away without the kids? Marcus laughed, reaching over to squeeze my hand. His touch made my skin crawl. Soon, Dad. I promise. Maybe our anniversary next month. Our anniversary. I'd forgotten it was coming up. 16 years. Was he planning to leave me before or after? That night, after the kids were asleep, Marcus sat next to me on the couch, pulling me close. Mom's right. You do look tired. Is everything okay? For a moment, just a moment, he sounded like the man I married. Concerned, caring, present. I looked into his green eyes, searching for some sign of guilt, some indication that he knew I knew. But there was nothing. He was that good a liar. Just work stuff, I said. You know how it is when I'm on deadline. You work too hard, he said, kissing my forehead. Maybe you should take a break. We have plenty of money. Plenty of money. In his secret account, maybe. Patricia Coleman, the PI, was worth every penny. Within a week, she had a comprehensive report on Melissa Reynolds. 31 years old. Patricia read from her notes as we sat in the same coffee shop. Marketing director at a boutique firm downtown. MBA from NYU. Never married, no kids. Lives in a one-bedroom in the West Village that costs $4,500 a month. How does a marketing director afford that? She doesn't. Your husband co-signed the lease 6 months ago. 6 months. When he'd told me his Christmas bonus was smaller than expected due to market volatility. There's more, Patricia continued. This isn't his first affair. I found evidence of at least 2 others over the past 5 years. Jennifer Conway, a paralegal at a firm his company works with, that ended about 2 years ago. Before that, Andrea Chun, a personal trainer at his gym. Each name was a punch to the gut. During the Jennifer period, I'd been dealing with my father's cancer diagnosis. During Andrea, I was juggling Jake starting school and Emma's anxiety issues. I'd been too distracted to notice my husband was living a double life. But Melissa seems different, Patricia added. The others were brief, a few months at most. With Melissa, he's making long-term plans. I have evidence of him looking at apartments, consulting with divorce lawyers, moving assets. He's planning to leave. Within the next 3 months, based on what I've found. He's waiting for his year-end bonus, which should be substantial. I took the folder Patricia offered, thick with photos, documents, evidence of a betrayal so complete it took my breath away. Photos of Marcus and Melissa at restaurants, entering hotels, kissing on street corners. Credit card statements showing purchases I'd never seen. Email exchanges on a secret account discussing their future together. One email, dated 2 weeks ago, made me physically ill. My marriage has been dead for years. Sarah and I are just roommates raising kids. Once I figure out the cleanest way to exit, we can start our real life together. I promise, baby, just a little more patience. Roommates raising kids. Is that what 15 years had become to him? That evening, I watched Marcus help Emma with her algebra homework, patient and encouraging as always. He was a good father, I couldn't deny that. But was he? How good a father could he be if he was planning to blow up their lives for his real life? The second week of knowing was harder than the first. The anger had settled into a cold determination. I opened my own bank account, transferring small amounts from our joint account. Nothing he'd notice, but enough to start building a safety net. I met with Diana, my lawyer, again this time with Patricia's report. This is excellent, Diana said, reviewing everything. The financial deception alone will work strongly in your favor. The multiple affairs establish a pattern of behavior. You're building a strong case. What about the kids? When do I tell them? Not until you're ready to file. Kids can't keep secrets, and the last thing you want is them accidentally alerting him. When you do tell them, keep it simple and age-appropriate. Don't make them choose sides. I thought about Emma, so sensitive and already dealing with teenage anxieties. Jake, who hero-worshipped his father. How do you tell children their hero is a fraud? Meanwhile, I had to keep playing the devoted wife. I cooked his favorite meals, asked about his day, made love to him when avoiding it would have been suspicious. Though my body felt like it belonged to someone else during those moments. I smiled at his jokes, nodded at his stories about working late, and bit my tongue when he complained about being tired from all his meetings. The irony was, Marcus seemed happier than he'd been in months. He whistled in the shower, brought me flowers, guilt gifts I now realized, even suggested we plan a family vacation for summer. I was thinking Hawaii, he said over dinner one night. The kids are old enough to really enjoy it now. Emma's face lit up. Really? Can we go to the volcano? Absolutely, Marcus grinned. We'll do everything. I watched Jake and Emma excitedly discussing snorkeling and surfing. Their faces bright with anticipation for a trip that would never happen, and I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled and suggested we look at hotels together. By the third week, cracks began to show, not in Marcus's facade but in mine. The stress of pretending everything was normal while knowing my life was about to implode was taking its toll. I lost 8 pounds. I wasn't sleeping. My sister Linda noticed at lunch one Wednesday. You look like hell, she said bluntly. Linda had never been one for sugarcoating. Thanks. Just what every woman wants to hear. I'm serious, Sarah. What's going on? And don't say work stress. I know your work stress face. This is something else. For a moment, I wanted to tell her everything. To let someone else carry this burden with me. But Linda had never been good with secrets, especially after a few glasses of wine. Marcus and I are going through a rough patch. I said finally. It wasn't a lie. How rough? I don't know yet. I'm figuring it out. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Whatever you need, I'm here. No judgment. That evening, Marcus came home with champagne. Dom Perignon, the same kind we'd had at our wedding. What's the occasion? I asked, though my stomach was already sinking. Can't a man celebrate his beautiful wife? He popped the cork with practiced ease. Besides, I have good news. Remember that huge deal I've been working on? It closed today. The bonus is going to be incredible. The bonus? The one he was waiting for before leaving me. That's wonderful, I said, accepting the glass he offered. How incredible are we talking? Let's just say we could do some serious home renovations. Or maybe look at that beach house you've always wanted. The beach house I'd always wanted. Had he forgotten he was planning to leave? Or was this performance for the kids, who were doing homework in the next room? That sounds amazing, I said, clinking my glass against his. The champagne tasted like ash in my mouth. That night, he made love to me with an enthusiasm he hadn't shown in months. Afterward, as he slept beside me, satisfied and snoring lightly, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how someone could compartmentalize so completely. Was he thinking of Melissa while he touched me? Was this some sick way of saying goodbye? Thursday brought another revelation. Patricia called with an update. Melissa is pregnant. The words hit me like a physical blow. I was sitting in my car outside Whole Foods, and I had to grip the steering wheel to keep from screaming. How far along? About 8 weeks, based on the prenatal vitamin prescription I tracked. She's been to an OBGYN twice. 8 weeks. Marcus had been planning his exit while his mistress was carrying his child. Does he know? Based on their text messages, yes. He's excited, Sarah. He's already looking at family-friendly apartments. Family-friendly? He was replacing us. Not just me, but our entire family unit. I sat in that parking lot for an hour, engine running, air conditioning blasting, trying to process this new information. He wasn't just having a midlife crisis or a simple affair. He was building a new life, complete with a new family, while still playing devoted husband and father in his current one. That's when I decided 30 days was too long. I had enough evidence. It was time to end this charade. But first, I had one more thing to do. Friends, this is just the beginning. I've discovered the affair. I've seen the evidence. But I haven't confronted him yet. What would you do with 30 days of secret knowledge? How would you protect yourself and your children while living with someone living a double life? Find out what I did in part 2, available now. Click the link on your screen or in the description. The ending will shock you. See you there.